This is a live look in Brooklyn Park. Police there have issued a shelter-in-place for a 3-mile radius surrounding the Edinburgh golf course for an emergency event. Officers are looking for a suspect in multiple targeted shootings who is considered armed and dangerous. The suspect is a white man with brown hair. He is wearing black body armor over a blue shirt and blue pants. Police say he may misrepresent himself as law enforcement. Please be careful if you are in that area. We're also been told that people are told to not answer the door. There's a knock at the door unless they see more than one law enforcement officer there. Once again, a live look there in Brooklyn Park, shelter in place there for people within a 3-mile radius of the Edinburgh golf course.
We're here today because an unspeakable tragedy has unfolded in Minnesota. My good friend and colleague, Speaker Melissa and her husband Mark, were shot and killed early this morning in what appears to be a politically motivated assassination. Our state lost a great leader, and I lost the dearest of friends. Speaker Hortman was someone who served the people of Minnesota with grace, compassion, humor, and a sense of service. She was a formidable public servant, a fixture and a giant in Minnesota. She woke up every day determined to make this state a better place. She is irreplaceable, and we've been missed by so many. Minnesota's thoughts and prayers are with her family, her loved ones, her children, and her parents.
Don't let old Tampon Tim fool you. He can act as sad as he wants at these press conferences about what happened in Minnesota today. But make no mistake about it, he has blood all over his hands. He is partially responsible for what happened. And all of this rhetoric that is coming from the left is causing people to act out violently. We have seen so many examples of this in the past year or so, and this is just the latest example. Now, of course, today is the day of all of the big No Kings protest. And I woke up today expecting to see people acting crazy on the streets. I expected to see some riots pop off. What I did not expect was waking up to the news that Democratic politicians and lawmakers have been assassinated. Now, why was Melissa Hortman and her husband assassinated? Why were they targeted? Well, it's because of how they voted when it comes to allowing illegal immigrants to be provided with health care. It turns out that Melissa Hortman voted against her party. She voted against what other Democrats were voting for, and now she's dead. And I can tell you, when she was doing little press conferences and talking to the media about voting this way, you could tell that she was scared. She was shaken up. And I don't think, even though she was scared, I don't think she expected for this to happen, obviously. But when you're dealing with radical people who have had the media and these Democrat politicians brainwash them for years, there's no telling what they're willing to do. Y'all wanted to have this big No King's Day parade. Oh yeah, F Trump. Well, it turns out a lot of these Democrats are starting to eat their own. And by eat their own, I mean they're starting to kill their own. But like I said, the reason Melissa Hortman was targeted was because of how she voted recently. You know, when it came to the decision over whether or not to allow illegal immigrants to receive health care benefits. I want to go ahead and roll this clip so you can see the fear in her eyes, so you can hear her voice shaking as she announces her decision to vote this way. Let's go ahead and roll the clip, and then I'll be right back with more.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
DFL Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman emotional following the House's adjournment from a special session Monday. Hortman was the lone DFL lawmaker to cast a vote to cut Minnesota Care access for undocumented immigrants. It's a move she made with a heavy heart.
I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota.
The bill was deeply unpopular with members of the DFL caucus. Members have repeatedly expressed frustration that the bill was part of a compromise, one that would ensure the necessary GOP votes to pass the rest of the state budget.
We are tremendously disappointed and gut-wrenched at this decision, at this compromise that compromises our communities that are most vulnerable.
Hortman knows she let down her own caucus members with the vote.
They're right to be mad at me. I think some of them are pretty angry. I think that their job was to make folks who voted for that bill feel like crap, and I think that they succeeded.
Over in the Senate, a similar situation unfolded. Senate Majority Leader Erin Murphy forced to vote for a bill she too disagreed with to uphold the integrity of their compromise.
This one hurt. This one is a wound because of its reason. My colleagues across the aisle set this as their number one priority.
Asked whether the move would drive a wedge between her and the rest of her caucus, her DFL colleague, Senator John Marty, quickly stepped to her defense.
As a member of the caucus, yes, sir, she clearly was fighting against it every step of the way. In the negotiations, if we wanted a budget, we had to agree to that. She agreed to put up one vote for us because of that.
Reporting in St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.
Now, of course, they have already scrubbed the suspect's social media accounts because they don't want people knowing that this guy was an extreme leftist. But we do know the suspect's name, and it turns out that he worked for Governor Tim Walz. Would you look at that? Ladies and gentlemen, the suspect's name is Vance Bolter. It appears that he is the same Bolter who was appointed to the Governor's Workforce Development Board in 2019 by Governor Tim Walz. So here we have a guy that was working directly with Tim Walz that has now gone out and killed some of Tim Walz's colleagues because they did not vote in the way that Tim Walz would have wanted them to vote. Isn't that crazy? But as of right now, at the time of this recording, things can change. At the time of this recording, this guy is still on the run. They haven't caught him yet, but they did find his vehicle. And in his vehicle, he had a hit list of other politicians, clinics, you name it. He had places that he was planning and people that he was planning on targeting. But he also had ammunition in the car and a bunch of No King's Day flyers. Let's go ahead and roll the clip.
Are there reasons to believe that these events were also targeted by the person in the manifesto in the car?
We don't have any direct links. However, there were some flyers that said No Kings within the suspect vehicle. And as we know, the planned events throughout the state of Minnesota today is a No Kings event.
And so the reference materials that were inside of the vehicle that we saw, we have no understanding that any of the No Kings events would be targeted, but we also find it of interest to the public that these would be in there, and we want to alert everybody until we do that. Because this is such an active investigation with information not knowing right now, we feel it's an obligation to all of you and the public across the state of Minnesota to alert you of it, and that's why the Colonel made the notation of recommending people don't go today. But the individuals are not in custody yet, and so we want to make sure as that very active manhunt is underway and continues that we make sure that we're sharing that, and that's part of why we're making the recommendation. As to the investigation and the list, we are working through that now and talking to individuals, and we'll continue to. What I would say with the list is there's a large number of people. That's all I can say about it. We will work through all of that, what the motivations of this are, and we'll provide that as you can. This is really a public safety announcement for everybody so that we can make sure people are informed and make safe decisions throughout the day.
Now, it's been reported all over the place that the suspect in this crime was impersonating an officer. He was pretending to be a police officer at the time that he carried out these attacks. And it just so happens that Vance Bolter, Tim Walz's good friend, you know, the guy who worked for Tim Walz, It turns out that he is the director of security patrols at a security firm in Minnesota. Dr. Vance Bolter has been involved with security situations in Eastern Europe, Africa, North America, and the Middle East, including the West Bank, Southern Lebanon, and the Gaza Strip. He brings a great security aspect forged by both many on-the-ground experiences combined with training by both private security firms and by people in the U.S. military. So that would explain why maybe he had access to certain gear, or that I think this further explains why he was able to make himself look like he was a police officer. And he probably made it look pretty believable, at the time that he was carrying out these crimes. In fact, I believe that he was spotted in his vehicle leaving the scene of a crime, or the scene of the crime, by a police officer who was headed there to investigate. Now, as of now, of course, he's on foot. Maybe he's in a different vehicle. We don't know, but his vehicle has been found, but he is still at large. And they are warning people in Minnesota not to go to these protests today because they don't know if he's going to show up there and do something crazy. Who knows what this guy is capable of, but we do know that he's capable of taking other people's lives because he has already done that. So this is just how we are starting off this crazy day. This is how this crazy day is getting kicked off. So you can only imagine how this day is going to end. I don't even want to know what type of chaos may break out tonight, but it's already ugly right now. But for now, you guys, let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next video.